Hello everybody, this is General Hand Grenade and welcome to the Cathouse in Edmonton, Alberta. If you're wondering why I call it the Cathouse, I'm at Rank Carcass's house and he and his wife have 3 cats and they just had another person move in, a friend of theirs, and she has 2 cats. So we're in a house with 5 cats and it's a good thing now that he's in a separate room with his table because the table used to be out in the rec room and the cats could have jumped on the table at any time and just made a mess of what we're doing. Anyway, if you watched my previous video, you'll know what we're doing here, so I don't have to explain it all. I explained. If you didn't see it, then I encourage you to go back and watch it because I explained all the expansions that we're using and what the teams were and all that. So I'll just get into what happened. I'm in the pre-war era here. I'm not going to go every 6 months because not enough happens to tell you, oh, look, this guy moved 1 space. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to do it once a year, so every second turn. So let's just go and take a look at what has happened. The battle for Turkey is going on right now, and so what you try to do is you see here, France has got a chip under it and Italy's got a chip under it and Russia doesn't have a chip under it. So what you're doing is you're paying $2 and that gives you a roll. You try to roll from 1 to 3 to try to, if you get a 1 to 3, then you get a chip, and the first one with 4 chips gets Turkey up there with all their units, and you get all this money, and that's Turkey's money. And then Turkey will have an economy, like we actually have a Turkey chip up there. So Turkey will have an economy, and they will join the side, like they'll either be controlled by the Italian player or the French player or the Russian player, depending on who gets those 4 chips first. So you could be wasting a lot of money rolling or not. And the other thing that we've done since last night's video was we rolled for tech. So everybody got a weapon. That's how we play the game. So you decide what you don't want. You pick one that you don't want, like say radar, and then you roll the dice, trying to get one of the other 12. Whatever the dice says, that's what you get. And if you were to get that 10 for radar, then instead of that, you would get improved shipyards. And that's what happened to the Russians down here. They chose anti-submarine warfare, and they rolled an 8, so that gave them improved shipyards automatically. So you see the weapons that they got now. Plus we're playing another house rule where you get to roll for weapons from the beginning of the game. Although you don't get to use any of this tech until July of 1939, which is in the normal rules. So we're just allowing people to roll once. You don't get to roll 6 dice or anything. You just get to roll 1 dice for $2 if you want, and to try to get some tech. And you see Germany has advanced themselves over on the heavy armor, and the Russians got advanced artillery, and then France and Italy are wartime economy, and the Americans improved shipyards. So that's the only thing that's happened in the first year over there. Now, one of the things we discovered playing this oil wars is, you know what, I don't really need to move everything in 1936, right? Like, what am I moving stuff around for? You can move your infantry, and you can move your cavalry for free, and then also you can use the rails. So when you use the rails, that does not use oil as well. So Germany has not used any oil whatsoever so far. And so they're just building up oil. And the same with Japan. Japan hasn't used any oil. I think the Italians have used 2 oils so far. Or no, they've used 3 oils so far because they had to... no, just 2, because they had to move their planes down in Abyssinia and then move them back. So they didn't need much oil. But the other thing is, like, China starts with a whole bunch of oil in here, right? And they know that Japan's going to come and take that oil. So what they're doing is they're just moving this boat around just so he uses oil, so that China loses his oil. Because that's the only thing China's ever going to need an oil for. We're talking about the nationalists here, right? So they might as well spend their oil before the Japanese get in there. And Japan has not attacked China yet because they don't have any sources of oil to start the game off with, except for the 3 oils that America gives them for free every turn. And so they're just stockpiling their oil. Like, we're using red chips here, so a red chip is 5 oils, so they've got 10 oils here, and they got a bunch of oil down there, and I guess that's about it. So they're eventually going to go after China, but they want to stockpile some oil first. That way they can keep the Americans out of the game as long as possible, before they have to go down to the islands down there, the Dutch islands, and take their oil. The Russians, I don't think they've used any oil too. Like if you don't move your planes, then you don't have to spend an oil. So why would you move your planes in 1936 when you don't need to, or your boats or anything, right? The British have moved their boats, so they spent a little bit on oil, but that's about it. And as far as the elite of the Reich goes, you don't get anything except for this. This is Hitler's guard. He's the only guy that comes in 36. You don't get the next chip until, or qualify to get the next chip until 1939. So that hasn't really entered the game yet, but I, as the German player, am going to have to be mindful of that, because I need to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to start gaining those units in 1939. But right now I don't really have to worry about it. Really all the Germans have done so far, besides roll for tech and roll for Turkey, is building subs. And of course down here they've put in a mountain infantry and a light tank. And the same with the Russians. The Russians put a mountain infantry down here. So this war is really, not much has happened so far. It's been about even right now. Maybe the Republicans are just slightly ahead. So that's all that's happening really in Spain right now. And yeah, and America hasn't done much because they don't get much money. The British, let's just walk around the board there. So the British have only built a few units in here, but really, I mean, this is why I don't make a video every 6 months. All they've done is they put an infantry in here, and they've put a couple of infantry down here. So these red factories here, I think I forgot to mention this in the video last night. We're using medium factories in this game. So a medium factory will build 3 units. To upgrade a minor factory, you'd have to pay 5 IPCs to get a medium factory. Or if you just wanted to buy one outright and put it on the board, it would cost 5, 5, and 5. So halfway between a minor and a major factory. So that's going to change the game big time, having these and being able to build 3 units at them. You can see there's one there, and there's one here. Oops, there's one here in Calcutta. So he's going to be able to build 3 units in there. And then down here in Sydney. And then up there, the Japanese have one. And they have improved factories up on the board up there. So in 1939, that factory is going to be able to pump out 5 units. That's really going to help out, right? Like if they maybe put one more of those things on there, or even just a minor that they can pump 2 out. So like if they take Nanking or something and put a minor factory on there, then, or even just a medium factory, then they're going to be able to pump out 5 units from there too. So that would be 10 units on the mainland. That's all they need, right? And so that's going to help out. It's going to change the game a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out, and if I like it, then I'm going to get some medium factories and be playing in my game as well at home. But nothing happening down here yet. The Japanese don't want to give the Americans any more money than what they have right now. They would like to keep them down as much as possible. The British have spent a little bit of money because they've moved their boats around. And I think that's about it. One of the big things is going to be what happens with Turkey, because there's a law, like the stakes are higher in this game than they have been before when we've played Turkey, because of all this oil down here in the Middle East. You know, like whoever gets Turkey is going to have better access to that oil. Like you think if Russia gets it, Russia's already right here. And if they get the Turks, then there's nothing stopping them. They just come down here and get this oil. Like, and they don't even have to do it. The Turks can just come down here and get it for them, right? Like they'll have lots of money and lots of units, so they can just do that for them. And if it's Italy, then I've seen how that plays out. Italy becomes a real player in the Mediterranean area and in the Middle East. And then if it's If it's the Allies, well, that's going to change the balance too. Not only do you get access to the Middle East, easy access, but you also get easier access to Europe up there. You don't even need a transport to get up there, right? But it is going to be harder to defend Turkey from there because Germany's going to be right there, and Germany just has to come down to Istanbul if the Allies were to take that. But still, it's going to distract them a little bit. So I think that's basically all that's really happened in the first year. If I just keep rambling on and I keep doing this every year, then this video is going to get way too long. So I'll just leave it there. You can see what's going on. And we'll see you in another year. Okay, so here we are a year later, and I've just moved the calendar over. So we just finished January of 1938. July of 1938, this is when things start happening. So this will be the Germans can start building their mechanized infantry and their tanks, right? So let's just, well, we're over here. Let's just start over here. The Americans, they haven't done much over here, I don't think. I think the building they're doing, and there's not much of it, because we've got those tech rolls. So that actually takes away from the money, the meager amount of money that you get at the beginning of the game when you're rolling for tech. But I mean, you look at the Americans over there, and they've managed to hit it 3 times already. So they've almost got improved shipyards. The Japanese, they still have yet to spend an oil. So they've got, let's just take a look here, 5, 10, 15, 16 oil sitting here, and they've got some oil down over on that island over there. So they're going to start attacking China. They haven't attacked China at all because they were going to save up their oil that they were getting from America. But with this medium factory here, they've managed to put a ton of stuff on here, and plus they've got their transports. And so you look over there, and they've got 2 elite Marines and 2 regular Marines. So they'll be able to make some kind of landing over there and start making some headway with these guys up here. And with those, I've been building mountain infantry because China is almost all mountains, right? So they're gonna try that, see how that works. The Russians haven't done anything over here because they don't get much money as well. And so, and you know, like with them doing their roles, the Turkey and tech rolls, and they don't have much money left over. So really, Russia hasn't changed a whole lot at all. Just a whole lot more oil because you look at all the reserves they got. They got tons of money, tons of oil in their reserves. I don't think they've used any oil in this game at all because you do have rail movement. And so anything other than the dudes that they're just railing, right? The one that used oil the most is probably the British because they've been moving ships around, right? And you look at, they've got escort markers everywhere because I bought a ton of subs. I've got lots of subs out in the Atlantic for the Germans. So they've used a little bit of oil now, but just for subs. The Germans have got a lot of oil, probably enough that they can do whatever they want. But that's what they were trying to do. Like, why would I move my planes around if I'm not attacking anybody, right? You don't really need to use them. Spain, still not much happening in Spain here. It's still pretty much even in there. And it'll be the nationalist turn when we get going again because it'll be Germany's turn. So we'll see what happens in there. The Italians haven't done much either, although they finally did get a successful roll to try to get Turkey. Turkey is just a massive amount of money now. Like, you look at their money down there, and it's, I think it's $36 or $37. It's just a ridiculous amount. Turkey's the richest country in the game right now because we just keep missing our roll for Turkey, right? You got to roll 1 to 3. And then you look here, so America has put a little bit of stuff on here. They've got their elite Marine here. That's the country-specific chip, the pink one, so that would be an elite Marine. And they've built up a little bit here. Nothing happening in South America, right? It's before. And we've moved some ships along a little bit in here. Not much, though. We haven't been doing much in there. Just mostly taking the little chips off of there. So here again, let's just take a look over here at Turkey. So yeah, you look at the amount of money they got. 37. It shouldn't be 37. I think it should be 36 because we're giving $2 at a time. So I'll just take $1 out of there. But you look here, Italy's got 2, or the Axis have got 2 chips, and France has got 1. So all these countries, except for Japan and America, they don't participate in Turkey. Everybody's been rolling dice and everybody's been missing. Since the last time I made a video, only 1 chip has been placed, and that's it, right? Out of, what would that be, 4 rolls? And these guys missed all 4 rolls. So this is tough to get these guys. And when somebody finally gets them, they're just going to get a shit ton of money with it, right? So they're going to have to convert their factory to a medium factory, or, you know, like, because they can only buy so much stuff to put on one factory, right? What can you do? And the British, yeah, they've got quite a sizable fleet down here. They've consolidated their India fleet, and they've taken their fleet out of the Mediterranean and they've put them down here. So they're doing all right there, and they've got quite a number of dudes up there in Cairo, and the green ship, that's a 3 here. So they got a bunch of them down in South Africa, and over here these guys have put on a medium factory. They really don't get much money, so it's like every second turn you might buy something, right? So these guys really haven't done much down here. They've changed their factory so that when they do start getting a little bit more money, they can place more than just one thing on at a time, right? And nothing has happened in the islands down here. And China, I'm going to have to go on the next turn. The Japanese are going to attack China because they don't want China to get too built up. So now that they've built up a ton of oil, the Japanese, now it's time to start attacking China. And you can see this guy's falling down on the job here. There we go. So yeah, Japan is going to be into China in the turn coming up here. And that's about it, I believe. Here, I'll just, I don't think I gave you a very close look at the Mediterranean over here. So we'll just take a look at the Med. Lots of stuff in the Med right now. These are Republican ships, German, French. There's a Turkish ship over here. It's a battleship, but it's called the Yavuz. It's only a, it's kind of like a small battleship, so it's not a capital ship. And a lot of Italian boats in there. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll see you in another year. Okay, so we've reached July of 1939, and Turkey has finally been won. And I tell you, we rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled, and the Axis and the Allies both had 3, and they each needed 1 more. So France got a roll, and they didn't get it. And then Italy got a roll, and they did get it. But, you know, like, we were even talking about it leading up there because it was taking so long. $56 in the pot. That means that Turkey had $56 whenever somebody won it. And we both agreed, you know what, that's too much. Like, that just breaks the game for, doesn't matter who gets it, whether it's the Russians or the Axis or the Allies. So we said, you know what, let's just cut it in half, because like, that's still $28 that they get, and that's fine. Like, they're just a minor country with 1 factory, right? And to give them more money than anybody in the game has was, you know, like, that's probably as much money as the Allies have in total with all of their nations, right? So it didn't seem reasonable to do that. So what we're going to do, and what we'll do in the future, is it'll still cost you $2 for a roll, but you'll put $1 into the turkey pot and $1 into the bank. So it's still going to cost you $2. And that's basically what we've done here. So it was $56, and the Italians are going to get $28, and the bank got $28 in order to run Turkey. Like, it'll be Turkey's $28. So we think that's fair. It's not that like, we wanted to follow the rules. We just found, you know, that is literally going to break the game if those guys get that much. Especially, you know, you're playing oil wars, and look at where all the oil is down here, right? Turkey's just going to be a beast and just beat the shit out of everybody. You know, like, that's not going to work. So we cut it in half, and that's still going to make them very powerful. And we're going to keep it in half in the future. So let's move on here. Now, Japan has been at war with the Chinese for a few turns now. I guess a couple of turns. And what I did was I held back for, I think, 4 turns. What do we play here? 2, 4, 6 turns. Yeah. So I held back for 4 turns just because I wanted to Japan doesn't have a whole lot of oil reserves, right? And the Americans give them 3 each time, but that goes down by 1, kind of like the money that they get from America. So they get 3 from America, they attack China, then they'll get 2, then they attack China again, then they get 1. And now, so they're getting 1 from America. They attack China once more, then they're not getting any more money. But they don't have any wells anywhere either, right? The only way they're going to get wells now is if they go get them. Like there's the one in China over there, but that's not going to help much. But there's all these wells down here, right, and in the islands. And so the Chinese, but the fact that we were using that medium factory up there, up, you see it there, the red one. They were able to put in a bunch of units there, and what I was doing was I was going with mountain infantry, and that sure helped. Like the mountain infantry went over to where the mountains are, and then I had Marines going down on Japan, and they were coming down here. See, like these are the elite Marines, the SNLF, and these are the regular Marines here. And so they were attacking the coast, and the mountain infantry and other units were attacking into the mountains. And both sides, Japan gets a lot of planes, so both sides were had air support with them. And that was, so they were able to make good headway in just 2 turns. And then again, they're just going to keep moving down the coast there. And the Burma Road is open now, which means, and I didn't realize this, but Rand Carcass was just telling me, like it was the Chinese turn was the last thing that happened, is that you can buy anti-aircraft artillery and artillery, and you can put them in Yunnan once the Burma Road is open, and I didn't realize that. So that's interesting. And so it's going to be a tough fight now. But the Americans are only at $9 now. So, you know, even with Japan expanding their role in the game, the Americans are so low that it's going to take them a while to get to their wartime income, right? So I think I played that right, doing it the way I did. Now, the Russians and the Americans are going to, and the British, I guess, are going to start rolling this turn like a D12 or whatever to up their income, because their income is all very low, right? So the Russians haven't done much, just building, right? And also everybody's been throwing money at Turkey, right? that kind of took a lot of money out of the game by throwing it at Turkey the way we did. And the French, they're just bracing, right? They're trying to get all their stuff out of the way. They're hoping to keep this spot right here because they're going to need oil. That means that they need an oil reserve for the Americans to keep giving them oil, because they are going to lose France. I mean, we all know that. That's what happens in this game and in the war, that they lost France, and they're going to do that. And the Germans are building for that. But on their way by here, let's just take a look at Spain. So the nationalists attacked, and I only went run round because it didn't go very well. It's really hard to attack in Spain because of all the mountains, right? So my attack did not go very well. He kind of diced me there. Then he attacked me back, thinking, okay, now I've got the advantage. And I diced him. So that's why you see, like, the nationalists only have 2 fighters in Spain. There's no ground troops. He actually got his recruitment role. Otherwise, it would look worse for him down here. He's only got 3 infantry and a fighter in Spain. So things have shaken down there pretty good. It's going to be a little easier to get Spain now, but nobody's got anything to do it with. The German U-boats are spreading out around the globe here, and so that's starting to spread out. That's going to spread out the British boats, because they're going to have to cover them with these escort duty. They're going to have to go on escort duty to track them down. Otherwise, I'm just going to eliminate their income. You see here now, the Germans are building for war against the French. What they're doing is they're trying to build up their mechs and their tanks, because they've got on their first attack where they go to war, or whenever, they can just declare it, right? So once in a game, they can do their lightning attack. They're going to take this spot out, then they're going to take this one, and then they get to non-combat move and everything, and then they're going to take Paris out. But they need to be able to blitz, and so they're building units to blitz. I think I'm going to have to build them for one more turn, build up the tanks and the mechs in there, and so they won't be going at Paris this turn. They'll be going at them next turn, and I'll have everybody in place by then to do that. And at the same time, they're going to want to go after Poland. So I don't know. Maybe I spent a little much on U-boats and a little much trying to grease Turkey there, because it seems like I should have more tanks and more mechs right now in order to do this. But you know what? Like I've managed to keep down the income from the other side, so I don't have to do it this turn. I could do it next turn or even the turn after, right? Because they're a long ways away from their wartime income. All of them are. The UK is only at 14, and the Russians are only at 8. The Americans are at 9. So they're a long ways away from their wartime income. Because I wasn't moving much and saving as much oil as I could, that meant that they weren't gaining any. Yeah, the Axis have to be aggressive in order for the Allies to start building for war, or to start dedicating more of their economy to war. So that's kept their income down. The Italians haven't done much, but now they're going to, right? Because now they've got the Turks on their side, and they're going to be able to do an awful lot. What do we got over here? Yeah, so this is just a view from the other side. When I took out, where is it here? When I took out the communist China here, oh, I gotta move that up a bit. When I took out communist China, there was a Russian commander on there, so he got to roll to try to escape, and he managed to escape. And so now the Russians finally have a commander, because they don't start with a commander, the Russians. They have to wait until they're at war. But it didn't say anything in rules, but it seemed reasonable to us that, the communists lost the fight over there. So the commander gets to escape, and he got to go 4 spaces away, and here he is. So now the Russians have a commander. That seemed reasonable to us. And what else? I'll just point out one more thing. Look, if it looks like it's pretty sparse over there for Japan, this marker here, this task force marker, that is where these boats and planes are right there. So they have a lot more than it looks like. It just to try to fit everybody in that sea zone is difficult. So anyway, I'll just let you take a look over here. There has been some advances over there. Like the Germans managed to get heavy armor. The Russians managed to get advanced artillery, so that's big time for them, because they can buy their Katyushas. That's something that only the Russians get, and they're very powerful advanced artillery that go 2 spaces, and I think they're 5-4, attack 5, defense 4. So those are very good units. And and the Americans got improved shipyards, just what they need, right? Anyway, that's the way it looks from here. A lot of guys haven't moved because of the oil situation, but things are going to start getting interesting from here on in. So I'll see you in another year. All right, the July 1939 turn is over. So in this turn, a lot happened. RC's brother Moose showed up, and so RC's going to play the Comintern, the Russians, and Moose is going to play the Allies. And that's good, because then another guy is showing up tomorrow, and he can join him with the Allies. And also that gives us, all 3 of us that played at my place a few months ago, something different to play. Like last time I was the Allies, and Moose was the Comintern, and RC was the Axis. So we're all playing something different this time, and that's good. So what happened this turn? The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was signed between Germany and Russia. So that's why you see the Russians have taken Viipuri here, and that's about it so far for breaching that. And the Russians have decided to start moving, so they've gone down to Iran down there, as you see. And this is the first turn that Iraq was able, or sorry, not Iraq. I mean, the Turks have been able to play, and so they were able to take Iraq, and that's going to take oil away from Britain, because Britain was getting oil from those 2 oil wells down there. But Turkey needed to do that because they didn't have any, like all they had for oil was what was in here, and they've used two, so they only had one oil left. So they had to go get an oil well before Russia went and got those down there. So that's why that happened. And if we move over a little bit here before I head down to the other side of the board, you can see that Japan has made it down here. They took that. Moose is playing them now, so he got aggressive and he came back and took back. I had taken that space as well. So the battle in China is fully engaged, and you can see here this is Yunnan. Yunnan is quite stacked up. They've got a commander and four what are these things? Oh, they're militia, and then three of the mountain infantry and tons of infantry, and also a bunch of other units as well. So they're going to be a tough nut to crack. And what? Japan looks bare over there, but really, I mean, that's because all their ships are up over here. All of these ships here are on this thing. I had them separated there. But all those ships here, they're right where that blue thing is down there. So let's move along over here. Okay, with the Germans, they've finally started getting their elite things. They only had the one thing to begin with, but now like they've got a Panzer here that is SS, and they're going to have 2 more units by the end of next turn, which will be SS, and it'll just keep going after that, right? So this turn, I didn't think I had enough. Like, you need tanks and mechs to take out Paris because you want to blitz through, right? And also you want to blitz through Poland into Warsaw. So I had to get some tanks and mechs built up, and now I'm ready to go. So next turn everything's going to change. It's going to be a long turn. So Paris should fall by the end of next turn, and hopefully Warsaw will fall as well. And that will be then we'll be rolling for all of the French spaces on the board, all of the French boats and everything, to see who becomes Free French and who becomes Vichy, right? Italy didn't do anything this time, except they were successful in the roll up there. They've almost got wartime economy now, and that's going to help out because they will get 2 6-sided dice to roll and add to their economy over there. The Americans haven't done much because they've been doing a lot of tech rolls lately, so they haven't built much during the game. I've managed to keep their income way down. That's by design. Funny, you know, the French, like they've got 3 oils here, but they keep trying to move guys all around just so they use up their oil, because they know that the Germans are coming there, and they get 3 oil a turn, and they have to put them up in Bordeaux. So they keep trying to use up their oil so that the Germans don't come in and take that oil, right? So like they'll fly their plane from here to here and then from here to here, move this guy back or forth just to use up that oil so the Germans don't take it. But I tell you though, the way we've played the pre-war in this game, I don't think oil is going to be a problem for anybody. Like, everybody's just been stockpiling oil like crazy. If you don't need to move a plane, why move it, right? And there you go. You didn't spend an oil moving a plane that time. So, and like Germany's got so much that even if Italy didn't have enough, then they'll be able to lend lease Italy oil, no problem, because they've got so much oil. And they're going to be getting much more than they need every single turn until somebody decides to start taking them down, right? Like they take out the Romania oil well or whatever, right? The German subs, I took them down here, but I haven't moved them, because I'm going to decide, once war breaks out and find out what happens with all the French guys there. There's no sense in me going now while all these French boats are on escort duty. I might as well wait and see what happens with all of those boats. You can see the British have got this over here, and that's a problem, right? Like, that's sometimes it's more of a problem having them sitting there and doing nothing than it is having them somewhere and threatening you, because you don't know where they're going to go from there. They're at naval base, so they can go a long ways at least 3 spaces from there, and so that's the threat projection. So that's a good strategy that they're using there. RC was using it, and now it'll be Moose doing it. Up in, it's been kind of a reprieve in Spain there, because I think the last time I showed you, the nationalists attacked these guys, and I don't know if I showed you, these guys attacked back, but they lost everything, both of them, except for their planes, right? Even these guys even lost a plane. So we couldn't really attack each other because we didn't have anything, right? Except planes. All we would have been doing is crashing our planes into each other. The Russians did come down and take Portugal. I guess that's something different. But they can't enter from here. They can't enter the Spanish Civil War from here. Otherwise, that would have tipped the balance right there. These guys could have attacked and these guys attacked. But that's not possible. So that's going on there. And I don't know if you were aware of it or not, but the rules have changed recently, because there was a way that you could game the system here in that the Russians could just come over and declare war on anybody over here, let's say Venezuela. And what would happen is the Americans would go, oh no, and then they'd go to full economy, right? And the Russians could have done that on the second turn, the way the rules were before. So they've taken that out. The Russians are not allowed to breach the Monroe Doctrine, just to bring the Americans into the war, to go up and slaughter the Germans. So that's why nothing is happening down here at this time. Something may happen though. We'll see. Like for instance, Germany is getting 1 free oil from Venezuela every single turn, just for the hell of it, right? Just because that's part of the rules. So if the Americans wanted to, they could try to annex Venezuela, and there's a way to do that by rolling dice and stuff. So if that were to happen, then there's 1 less oil that's going to Germany every turn, right? Plus it would give America, bring up their income and give them more oil. Not that they need oil. They don't use oil in this game. So I think I've showed you just about everything. I'll just move around a little bit here, slow as I can. Paris is about to fall. We're gonna go have dinner now. RC's cooking us all steaks. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to beat the fuck out of the French guys. Anyway, take care everyone. I'll see you in a while. Alright, so that's a very big turn and we are done for the day. So this will be the end of the video. As you can see, as promised, the Germans kicked the shit out of France. So, and also, if you look closely, you can see there are more SS units on the board. There's SS tanks there. We got the 1 SS guy here. They got a heavy tank in here. They've got a couple of commanders now because they're at war. There's a SS Panzer Grenadier over here. Then, so they took out France. So then the French did their Vichy rolls. So this always becomes Vichy, right? But they have to roll for every territory and for every boat. So what happened was, here, let me just take you down there. The Vichy ended up getting 2 transports and a sub. And that's the ones that you see right there. 2 transports and a sub. Oh, and I guess they got a destroyer up here as well. Let me just stand that up again. Now the Free French, they ended up with a torpedo boat destroyer and a sub, and then there's another sub down here. And then the other thing that can happen, other than being scuttled, and there was a few of those, was that they could become German as well. So the Germans, oh, that was already their sub. The Germans got this battleship out of that. So they got the big prize, really, with the battleship. But it is stuck inside the Med, but that's okay. Like he could, there's a couple of German subs in there as well. So they can make some trouble, create some havoc if they want. Anyway, so France is done. But the good thing about the territories, like we've only got flags on here, and I've told them that these are free French, but they say that they're Vichy French. So the ones that have the flags on them, those are the ones that went Vichy. And then the other ones, the ones that don't have flags, those are free French. He was lucky enough to get this one, which is a big deal because Syria went Vichy. Now, the reason he needed this one was because there's only 2 French territories that have oil reserves, and he needed one so that he could keep getting oil from America. And since they lost Syria, that was a good one to get. Plus, he'd already put a few units down here, right? So he had a medium bomber down there, so he's doing pretty good. And he got this one as well. He ended up getting 5 income out of it. Like the game that I'm playing at home right now against Panzer King, the French only have 1 income, right? It just depends on what territories you get. Because like this one here is worth 1, this one here is worth none, right? He just happened to get most of the territories that are worth something, including these 2 over here, which usually go the other way. It's the first time I've seen them go this way, so those are still free French there. While we're over here, let's just take a look. Japan is doing a number on China there now, but you can see Yunnan is going to be a tough nut to crack over here because they've got 4 artillery now, they've got a gun, they've got a bunch of mountain infantry, a bunch of infantry, and just a couple of, well, I guess 4 militia. But other than that, they've only got 1 territory here with 2 militia on it. So the Japanese are almost done with the KMT there, but that's going to be a tough one to take. But they do have a lot of units, but they're spread out right now. So they might have to consolidate and then attack Yunnan on the next turn, or maybe just bypass them and say, you know what, it's time to go after the FEC, right? The U.S., in their roll, like they get to roll a D12 to up their income, they only got a 1. They haven't done anything except for do a lot of tech rolls, and they did pretty good on their tech rolls. Like they've moved along on jet aircraft and heavy bombers, and they've got advanced submarine warfare now. And what else have they got up there? They got 1 on long-range aircraft. So that's what they've been spending their money on, is tech right now. But their income is only at 23 because they only rolled a 1 there. So they're a long ways from getting into this war, which pleases me. Not gonna lie. So there you can see, they haven't bought anything over there on either coast really. Nothing has happened down here in Africa. Nothing at all. Other than what happened with turning Vichy or Free French. So over here, the Turks have been building up, as you can see. They look pretty strong. They're only controlled by Italy right now. When Italy and Turkey are at war with the same major power, then they would be aligned and then they will move together. But as it is right now, Turkey is only controlled by Italy, so there's only limited control over them. Turkey does have this extra spot here where they've got some oil, so that'll do them for a while. But the Russians are moving in, right? The Russians, they've come down here and down here. And then the British decided they paid 10 IPP just to have the right to attack southern Iran, because this is where Britain gets their oil from, was from these 4 derricks here. That's the only oil they get in the game, right? And with these ones already taken out and the Russians coming in, they decided they better go and get these oil derricks, because, and also they get these reserves. They didn't have access to the reserves until now. They only had access to the oil being pumped out of the derricks. Now that they can get them from the reserves as well. I guess they had this other derrick down here as well, but not much. So what happened then? Well, the British, I guess they were trying to be some shit disturbers. Here, before I move on, I'll just show you what's going on down here. So there's quite a few boats down here. Everybody's been moving them along. And this is going to the FEC. This is one of those medium factories. So, Moose in all his glory decided he was going to come in here and take out a couple of my boats. And then he moved into Western Germany, the bastard. So we are going to have to slap him around a bit. I've got quite a bit of Air Force over here, and I've got these boats over here. We're going to have to take these guys out and take this back, but it was a good move by him. He said, what else was I going to do? So anyway, good move by him. I was so intent on taking France. I mean, you had to leave nothing back in order to get it, right? Because I took all of France and most of Poland. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we've signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. I think I did tell you that. So they can't go beyond here without breaking the pact. They can take Romania out without a penalty to Russia because of the pact. And that's also why Russia has taken this, and they've taken this down here. They can both Russia and Germany can move up more so than they were before without incurring any penalties on the other side. And I think that's about it. That's about it for this video. I'll just move along here slowly. You can see they're having quite the soup kitchen there in Moscow. Dirty Mike and the boys. And nothing happening on the border over here between Manchuria and the Russians. We're both content to leave each other alone at this point. There's all the ships there that are down in where the task force marker is. Yep, the battle has begun. It was a long day, I tell you, but the battle has finally begun. So anyway, I'm going to upload this video, and it'll be late by the time it gets out, but then we will start again tomorrow. We'll start early, and we got 2 people coming tomorrow. Moose has got to work, but he'll be here after work. But there's a guy coming before noon anyway. So we'll be starting tomorrow, and it'll be another full day. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.